So welcome back to another episode of Geekorama, a podcast by geeks for geeks. We are produced by superherofiction.com, where real fans hit subscribe. We are your hosts.
I'm Jeremy Flagg, author of the Children of Nostradamus universe.
And I am T.L. Heinrich, author of the Vigilantes universe.
For this week, we're going to be kind of doing something similar that we did when we were talking about Batman, except we decided to go with everybody's all-time favorite, Superman. So we're going to talk about the best depictions of live-action Superman, because honestly, Justice League Unlimited is the best one ever, but I digress. But before we get into that, let's do some pop culture trivia.
Let's do it. So this month, July 1981, the superheroine Vixen premiered. And a lot of us know her from the CW superhero universe. She was created by Jerry Conway and Bob Oksner. And she first appeared in Action Comics number 521. So she has a totem, a Tontu totem, which allows her to harness the spirit of animals. She can conjure abilities from animals past and present. Probably one of my favorite Vixen moments from Legends was when she channeled the T-Rex. That was awesome. She appeared in a CW Seed animated series called Vixen, which is highly regarded as probably the best television representation of the character. The voice actress that did her for the animated show reprised her role for an episode of Arrow. And then in Legends of Tomorrow, we're introduced to the Vixen probably everybody knows from watching Legends of Tomorrow, which is a World War II era Vixen by the name of Amaya Jawe. And she is identified as Mari's grandmother and is played by the awesome Maisie Richardson Sellers. Her powers have a bit of a dark side. The thing that allows her to channel these powers and somewhat even like halfway transform into these animals is called the morphogenetic field, which actually is just such a cool word, morphogenetic. I really like it. And so if she stays in that field too long, she will absorb some very unwanted qualities or abilities of the animals that she's channeling, such as the rage or the bloodthirstiness, killing frenzy, that kind of thing. So there is a dark side to those powers, and we did see some of that in Legends as well. So Vixen is a great character. She's a great woman of color, and I really loved her the way they wove her into the Legends and the conflict there, and it was just great. So 1981, we have Vixen.
If you have not seen the CW, the Seed version, I highly suggest it. Like I said, Justice League Unlimited is one of my favorite animations of all time, and this was the style was a little bit different, but it evoked that same type of feeling, and the story was captivating all on its own.
I'll have to check it out. I think the Seed is it's a free app, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's got all their
I think
older
you can even get to it from the CW app now.
Oh, nice.
I think it's built in.
I'll do that because I'm running out of stuff to watch.
If I remember correctly, it's only 1.5 hour episode, and that's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing?
Yeah, because the Seed, the way they do it is they also have a Constantine one, which explains the backstory of Constantine from Legends.
Okay. Definitely watching that.
The demon that's always after him is in the animated version, and it's awesome. But the problem is they do it in 6-minute increments, so it was almost like it was designed to be like the between episodes thing. The commercial break. But because it does it moves at a very fast clip. So there's no fluff to the story. It is,
That's nice.
It is a breath of fresh air, considering CW's like, we're going to have this one problem last 3 seasons. and only address it twice.
Yeah, or 26 episodes, which no, too much, too long. Stop now.
But I kind of hope Vixen gets some sort of her own credit. I know, to be honest, like Black Panther in Marvel, I'm gonna say he was more well known, but he was an odd choice to go to an odd choice to select as your first Black superhero after Blade, because give Blade his props.
Absolutely.
And I think Vixen kind of has that same type of quality.
Yeah.
A really rich backstory, a really cool street level vibe to it. I almost like Vixen would have been awesome in the Birds of Prey.
Yes, I agree.
Like she has like the vibe that would have worked really well there.
Well, we still might see that, because Margot Robbie is coming up with another Harley Quinn movie. And it will have, it's what we were hearing the rumblings of was Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Now, whether or not that happens, who knows? Because that was actually the lineup that the studio was wanting to push her toward. And Margot Robbie said, no, these other characters need a shot. These are really interesting characters, and this is going to be the only way we can bring them to the screen. So we're doing them first, which I thought was brilliant.
And I really liked, I love the idea of minor characters partnering up.
Agreed.
But also Shazam.
I'm not really sure where they were going with that.
It's basically Superman for kids.
But that movie was not for kids. I'm sorry. They tried to make it for kids, but then the villain literally deep fries like a room full of people. And I saw that and I was like, there's no way I'm showing this to my girls. No way.
It's like for 10-year-olds. It's fine.
Not my 10-year-olds who have nightmares. Anyway.
I want to see take some risks on these other weird.
Yes, agreed. Give us something fresh as we talk in the deep dive later about a oldie but a goodie. Anyway, what are you geeking out about?
So I actually haven't been doing much geek stuff, like comic book related. I've actually been kind of focusing on art stuff lately. I'm knee deep in editing a novel, and it is literally, I can't read on a computer anymore. So I've been going back to doing some graphic design work, and it's been kind of fun in the fact that I am finding all these weird and new techniques of doing stuff, specifically in the realm of special effects, which is not what my education is. My education's in very New York style, clean, crisp graphic design. And so this has definitely been some fun. And basically I get to spend all my time looking at book covers and kind of reverse engineering what people are doing in them. And so far it's been a lot of fun. It's just so many tutorials to watch.
Yep, I bet.
And let me just tell you, 99% of the universe doesn't know how to make a good tutorial. Having your button this big and thinking I can see which ones you're clicking, not helping.
No.
So it's kind of funny because my educator hat pops on and being like, no, you should not be doing this. But yeah, for the most part, it's been all this like, yay, fun artwork and design stuff. And yeah, so far it's going really well.
That's great. I've seen some of your covers. They're beautiful. I love them. And these are just like your samples. You're just playing around, and they're still really good. At
this point, it's more like, okay, if I was going to make a urban fantasy book, what are my required elements? Okay, I need a girl weapon with magic in one hand with this and this and this and this. Check, done. Got it. And it's weird because I just randomly show them off to people and boom, they're being sold. So
yeah.
Who knew this was going to be a thing? So what have you been? Actually, I know exactly what you're going to geek out about.
Yeah, there's actually there's quite a few things. So, Netflix, I'm just kind of taking a chance on things with Netflix. So my husband and I finished Warrior Nun, and we were like, let's watch The Old Guard. It was literally like the next night. We were like, let's watch The Old Guard. And I'm like, okay. And so I love Charlize Theron as an action star so much. I loved Mad Max Fury Road. I loved Atomic Blonde.
Go back to Aeon Flux.
I have not seen that one yet. I do. I really want to see it.
She is amazing. The movie is a train wreck.
Oh yeah, I've heard people say that compared to the original source material, the movie is just god awful. But
the original source material was pretty god awful too.
Yeah, it sounded. I've never read it, but I read synopses of it, and I was like, this sounds kind of weird. But so I love Charlize Theron, and one of the things I've been super frustrated about though is it feels like for actors of color and for women, I call it the Highlander principle. There can be only one. So there can be only one female action star at a time. There can be only one Black woman in sci-fi franchises at a time. So, I mean, think about it. Gamora and Uhura in the same actress has played her. Why? We don't know. Because there can be only one. So in The Old Guard, I was really excited because there's another one. There's another female kick-ass action. I think she's going to be a great action star. And she's a woman of color. I don't remember her name, but she's the newbie on this team. So there's a group of people. They're immortals. And Charlize Theron's character is the oldest one that they can tell. And nobody knows why. One day they just wake up and they literally can't be killed. And then on the same token, one day they wake up and they're now mortal and they can be killed. And they don't know why. They don't know what triggers either thing. But there's a group of them that have been together for hundreds of years. And in Charlize Theron's case, she's been alive for thousands of years. And they go around and they're like Robin Hood and the Merry Men. They go around, they solve problems, they save people, they do all this really cool stuff. And someone has kind of found them out in the movie. And I didn't realize this, but the movie is based on a series of graphic novels, which is really exciting because they're already talking about doing another one of the graphic novels and adapting it into another movie.
I did not know this. Charlize Theron has a deal with Netflix that she is going to be in a bunch of their features.
I am so excited.
So Netflix is now doing long-term contracts with actors and actresses so that they will stay within Netflix shows for a while. And that's how Will Smith got sucked into Bright. And Bright was actually supposed to be a trilogy based on a graphic novel. But the best part to it was the writer of the graphic novel wrote the screenplay.
Oh, they usually don't let them do
good.
That. Yeah. Well, and Charlize Theron's an executive producer on it.
Yep.
Which sometimes is something they just hand out to people and be like, here, boom, you're an executive producer. But from what I've heard about how Charlize Theron really manages her career, I would venture to guess she was pretty hands-on with this.
Yeah. So the first scene with her and her young Padawan, where they're beating the snot out of each other.
Oh my! On the airplane? Oh my God!
That was the first scene they filmed.
I know.
During that, and had to work through the rest of the movie while injured.
Yeah, which is just like, I loved it. And what I loved about it is she said, because the younger actress was super nervous. She'd never done anything like this before. Charlize Theron recognized it and said, we've got to work past that because you and I have to have this chemistry. And so she insisted, she was like, this has to be the first scene that we do. And I think that's brilliant because the two of them, their relationship was just incredible. And really, you don't get to see a younger female hero get mentored by an older female hero. You don't see that. It's It's Giles and Buffy. It's, you know, the same thing with Alias, where it's her dad and her. You never get to see women mentored by women. And that was one of the things I adored about this film, is that relationship.
And the only thing I didn't care for the plot was the villain.
So, fun fact, do you know who he was as a child actor?
No.
He was Dursley. He was Harry Potter's cousin in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh my God, he is.
Fun fact about him in those movies. Yeah.
Wow.
So really interesting fact about him in those movies, he started to lose weight. And because he was an unhealthy size. So he started to get healthy and lose weight. And the producers were pissed. They were like, no, you can't do that. You're supposed to be the fat guy. And he's like, well, sorry. So they had to put him in these padded costumes as he lost weight, which is why he completely disappeared from the Deathly Hallows Part 1. They filmed his stuff. They filmed this great scene with him and Harry where he's like, I know you saved my life, and I'm really sorry for the way I treated you. Just this great character moment for Dudley. And they cut it because they didn't like the way he looked in his fat suit.
He needed to eat a burger.
He was way thin. Yeah, he was pretty thin. But once you like recognize that's who he is, then you can totally see it in his face.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, Dudley, you grew up to be a horrible human being.
So the
was
old
so
guard could
slimy.
actually be future Harry Potter.
It could be. But he did a great slimy villain. Like he was just
he was gross.
gross. He was so gross.
But yeah, the show overall was, and unlike Warrior Nun, where you go back an episode and listen to me complain about the ending of that,
Oh
this
my God.
kind of ending that you were like, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
And you could already tell that they set up a sequel, like they
Yep.
opened the door, and then you get to the ending and there's the moment. And it was so, after watching Warrior Nun, I was like, that's how you do an ending.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how you end the first segment of a series. Not like Warrior Nun. I honestly, who the hell was high that day? I mean, did they lose footage and they just had to end it there? Like, I really want to know who made that decision because they should be fired. Like, that was terrible.
Netflix, call me. I'll fix your problems.
Exactly.
All right.
So, we are actually going to take a short commercial break, and we have a special message. So listen up, and right after, we are going to do our deep dive about who our favorite Superman is.
Behind every great superhero story is a sleep-deprived author. Join Franklin Kendrick every Friday as he takes you behind the mask and asks today's hottest superhero authors the burning question we all want to know. Do they always write in spandex, or is that just a weekend thing?
And we're back. It's the first time we've used our commercial, so we're very excited.
Okay, so for our deep dive, we're going to delve into live action Superman. And Trish actually sent me a link that they rank their favorite live action Superman. And I disagree with literally everything they said for exactly the reasons that they were like, this is the best. Screw you. So
except for like their number one. Like I agree with their number one. It'll probably be my number one, but yeah, everything else I was like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
But there were a couple Supermen I didn't even know existed.
Same. I was shocked.
So I guess by default I can't really rank them because I don't know them.
We could do an honorable mention though. We could let's do some honorable mention, like just talk about them. Like the Turkish one is just fascinating to me.
Yeah, that I don't know
what to say about that. But the one thing I will say is this video ranked a Turkish Superman above Brandon Routh in Superman Returns. And while Superman Returns was a dumpster fire of a movie, I'm sorry, Brandon Routh was better probably than Turkish Superman. I apologize, but
Can you rattle off all the live action Supermen?
All right, so you have I can't go back to the really early serials, but there's George Reeves, who was the really iconic one for television. Started off black and white and became color. There's Dean Cain from Lois and Clark. There's Tom Welling from Smallville. There's Christopher Reeve from the 1978 movie and 3 sequels. There's Tyler Hoechlin from Supergirl. There's Brandon Routh from Superman Returns. And Henry Cavill from the DC Expanded Universe. And I know I'm missing a couple of television ones because there was a Superboy show in the 80s. I don't remember who that is. And there was a film serialized version of Superman that I don't remember who that was either. But Superboy actually had 2 actors that played the title character.
Okay, so there's Brandon Routh. I had to Google this because I'm not going to remember them all. Henry Cavill, David Wilson.
David Wilson was Superboy?
That was the Broadway musical.
That's right. And then they tried to turn it into like a TV movie or something. Oh my God, how awkward.
And then there is John Haynes Newton, which is Superboy.
Okay.
And then there is Kirk Allen from Superman 1948.
That's the serialized TV or no movie that they did. Yeah.
Tafen Demure is the Superman Donuyor, because they couldn't even call it Superman.
From Turkey. Yeah.
The Adventures of Superboy was Gerard Christopher.
Okay.
Then Tom Welling, Dean Cain, George Reeves, Christopher Reeve, Tyler
Hoechlin.
Did not realize that's how you spelled his name. And
It's
that's all.
different. Okay. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds, just because I'm this kind of a dork, I memorized every actor that ever played the Doctor from Doctor Who and practiced reciting them in order of when they played it for the 50th anniversary. I was like, I want to know this. I want to be able to rattle it off. So this rattling off the live action Superman, it takes me back to memorizing the Doctor Who actors.
That's kind of like how you make a song to remember the periodic table.
Yeah. I don't know if I could still do that, though. We'd have to test me at some later date, but I bet I could.
So I will be the first one to say I have not seen all of these. I haven't either. The Broadway. I did watch Superboy, but that was so long ago. I have not watched it since.
Okay.
And then the early serial, I actually do remember Kirk Allen because I wanted to see old set designs, and it was one of the things that popped up.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to make a comparison, so we might have to loosely call this modern day Superman.
Yeah, I think. See, I've only seen the George Reeves version in clips. I've actually never watched one of those episodes.
They were bad.
They were super bad. But they did give us like the super iconic elements of Superman, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and the Clark Kent. That trio, that relationship, it did inform, I think, the Superman movie in 1978. You could see shades of it there.
Well, and I also think that I did watch it when it was on reruns many, many years ago. It really did give an identity to the behind the hero, not the Clark Kent side of it, but you had value and you had ideals that came with the hero, and he really did push that. And so
Yeah.
I feel when most people think back and think Superman, they're not thinking about a comic. They're thinking about George Reeves and that, you know, small town, good virtued, ethically right person.
Yeah.
I really liked the thing about how he even quit smoking.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. And I do remember, like, I saw Hollywoodland with Ben Affleck playing George Reeves, and I forgot about the movie until they brought it up in the ranking, where the kid brings a loaded gun because he wants to see the bullet bounce off Superman. And that level of, like, that's really freakish fandom. I mean, that's scary, but he never once balked at it in front of the little kids because he recognized how important his influence was on them.
And can I tell you how disturbing it was to watch Ben Affleck play George Reeves playing Superman?
Yeah, that was a little weird, all things considered.
Like, at any moment, I expected him to rip off the costume and be like, I'm Batman.
I know. This is all a front. Martha!
Yeah, like, at any moment.
So I think what we should probably do is start Christopher Reeves on, but then I will say I never saw the musical and I never saw Superboy, so I will not be able to speak to either one of them.
I'm going to have to say Superboy is probably going to be my lowest ranked because, one, it wasn't about him, and two, he didn't have, again, he was the ancillary character. So
oh wow, okay.
He had a mentoring role. He had it was CW level angst, actually.
The clips that they showed in that clip show, I was like, oh, he's in suspenders. That's just unfortunate.
It's such a product of its time.
Yeah. It makes me wonder how
it's holding up.
It makes me really wonder how Smallville got greenlit in light of how bad that looked, honestly.
Well, if you think of all the superhero things that were coming about, Smallville really did set a stage for all the other stuff that came after.
It did, absolutely.
Okay.
I will agree, though, that it had a problem. Like, its success was its problem because it didn't end when it should have ended.
And Tom Welling, like, stop that ship. You have the power to stop it.
Well, and Dan, my husband, has a great idea. He was like, okay, let him graduate high school and reboot the show and call it Metropolis.
Yeah.
Problem solved. You have all the same characters, but now they're in Metropolis, which makes so much more sense. It got so contrived keeping him on that freaking farm, honestly.
And it just, yeah, it got rough.
It got really rough.
So I'm actually going to have to say my Turkish, Broadway, and Superboy are going to go down my list anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
But of the modern day, my least favorite is going to be Tyler Hawking.
Really? I did not expect that. Okay, Dish, tell me why.
What did he do to that character? Like, what did he bring to the table that was anything new or interesting?
Good point.
He is literally Dean Cain Part 2.
He's a little bit more likable than Dean. Well, I'm thinking, I'm conflating Dean.
Every mother's dream.
Yeah, but I'm conflating, like, real life with what he was in Lois and Clark, and that's not fair because he was good as Clark Kent and Superman. Mostly as Clark Kent, but yeah.
Like, and granted, he doesn't have a lot of episodes, so there's not a lot of character development.
Yeah.
But what we've gotten of him is Lois and Clark Part 2,
There's shades of Christopher Reeve in there. There's shades of Brandon Routh in there.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of borrowed from everybody else except for Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah, there's no brooding.
We need to put that aside and like just it's a
And
separate category.
For the lack of him bringing anything new, I think he would be my bottom choice.
Yeah.
And granted, again,
Right.
he hasn't had enough episodes to make the character his own.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was like, oh, you're making a backdoor pilot with this, click, I'm done with that.
Yeah, there's nothing there. And there was no chemistry with him and Lois. I'm sorry. There wasn't. There was nothing.
And unfortunately, she was a throwaway.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed by that. I'll be honest.
For this hard-headed, like, strong female reporter who goes out and gets the story. Meh.
Yeah.
Like, did you have a job? Oh no, I'm sorry. She spends the rest being barefoot and pregnant.
Yeah. I liked Amy Adams's Lois Lane better than hers. And again, that's a totally different take on Lois, I think. But anyway, we can talk about that later. But I think, you know what, now that I think about it, I think I would agree with you because this is what's interesting. He was forgettable for me. When I think about the modern day Superman, the different actors that have played him, he is always the last one I remember, which is really telling, honestly.
I think my next one, looking at the list, is probably going to be Henry Cavill. And here's the thing that makes this really difficult. I do like him as Superman.
Yeah.
It's hard to separate a good character and a good actor from a pretty wretched movie.
Yes, I will agree with you on that.
And let's be honest, Man of Steel was a train wreck of a character. He did a good job.
Yeah.
But everything else around it was kind of all over the place. And Superman killing someone, okay, fine. I don't really balk at that. Like, I know some diehards are like, he would never do that. But it's a modern day telling, so I'm okay with that. But he did it with like, snap, you're dead. Okay, next thing on my list. Like, whoa. Have a moment of remorse that you just did something un-Superman-like.
To me, he was basically Batman in a Superman costume. That is not Henry Cavill's fault at all. That is the fault of the studio, the director, the screenwriter. That is literally everybody else's fault. That is not Henry Cavill's fault. And I think if they had actually bothered to make a Superman film, he would have been a really good Superman, honestly.
And his Superman is almost the Superman I would have expected from the alternate Earth where the Injustice League.
Yes.
It kind of had that moodiness to it.
Yeah, the one where Lois dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just kind of goes like ballistic, basically.
The reason he bumps up my list to number 2 is because the scene on the farm where he's just Clark Kent and he's kind of regained a little bit of hope. I was like, it's an allegory because me watching this has a little hope you're not going to bastardize this character again. I'm sure you'll crush it.
Yeah, they will. Well, and there were moments. There were moments when I was like, oh, there he is. And it was sometimes when he was Superman, and it also was sometimes when he was Clark Kent. Like him with Lois is when I saw it. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Oh. And then
the building fell on him and killed him.
Yeah. And so I could see the potential there. If they had, like I said, if they had bothered to actually make a Superman film, he could have really been a good Clark Kent and Superman.
So, and I mean, I would say he does have upward mobility, but the director is really the one.
Yeah.
I think this is where we're going to completely start disagreeing.
Okay.
I'm going to put Brendan Routh next.
Okay.
I liked him as Superman in Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Actually, I did too.
Partly because he's playing across from himself.
I know.
And he's like, on that planet, how am I Superman? And he was just all sorts of righteous goodness.
I know.
And Brendan Routh's character in Legends he's kind of the geeky kid that tags along, but he's so lovable. And you can see that he was Superman. And I really did like his portrayal of Clark Kent. I liked his portrayal. Like, the only thing that really ruins it is his villain was real estate.
His real villain was that entire film. It was the entire movie. And he could not overcome it. Let's be honest.
I would have enjoyed him in whatever, but the movie itself, again, was kind of a train wreck.
It's so bad.
And it was because they wanted to reboot Superman. They didn't want to make a new Superman. They wanted to bring back the Reeve version.
Yeah, and it's so unfair to Brendan Routh because I honestly think he would have been a great Superman. He did have inherently, and you see this when he's playing Ray Palmer, he inherently does have that Christopher Reeve, good guy, that can also throw down. Yeah, exactly. And I would have been, it would have been fine if he had channeled his innate Christopher Reeve, like just personality, and they had given him an actual really good Superman movie. But no, they wanted to go back. It really did feel like they were like, you know what we need to do? We need to redo the Donner films. And it's like, no, you really don't.
So I think this is where I would put him as my Superman. I would actually, as Clark Kent, I think move him up one, though.
Really? I don't remember his Clark Kent. I mean, that movie I barely remember because it was so bad.
He was kind of Christopher Reeve because...
Oh, really? I'll have to look it up.
He had like that dorky, like push up the glasses. Like, I don't think he was acting. I think that might actually be him.
Which makes him so much more adorable. I'm not going to lie.
You just want to pinch his cheeks.
I know, but you have to reach way up. He's like over 6 feet tall. To me, it's huge.
So this is where I think I would...
Actually, where you put Brandon Routh, I would put Dean Cain for me. Because as much as I liked Lois and Clark, I didn't think he was a very good Superman. I thought he was a great Clark Kent. I liked him as Clark Kent. I didn't like his Superman. He looked like he was dressing up in a Halloween costume.
I think I would give him my next spot. And for the exact reason. And granted, Lois and Clark was not about Superman. Occasionally there were some villains that showed up, but mostly it was a telenovela of Superman, basically.
Yeah, it was a rom-com, and it's fine. But he wasn't... I just cringed every time he put on the damn costume. It looked so awkward.
And because it's a TV show, of course they don't have a budget to like give him, fake abs or anything.
No, it looked like it was George Reeves all over again, honestly. And I feel really bad saying it, but it's the truth.
He wasn't built for it. And I don't know if because of the budget or the sets, or it never felt like he became Superman.
No.
It almost felt like Superman's going to jump out from behind a trash can where he was hiding because we can't make him fly. We don't have the budget.
I know, exactly.
And we're going to have a lot of stoic posing, but that's where it falls short. What I did love about his character, though, was he's the only Clark Kent that I can believe Lois Lane fell in love with.
Really?
Yeah,
I would disagree.
I found it so hard in so many Supermans. Like, he would be everyone's best friend.
He'd be friend zoned. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's possible.
You're a great coworker, and we should go out for drinks as friends. Like, but in that one, he would give her like that stupid smirk that Dean Cain has, and I could be like,
yeah.
oh, I just heard her panties get wet. Here we go.
Well, and we should really do a ranking of Lois Lanes, actually, because I was really surprised how much I liked, I forget her name, it's Terry something.
Terry Hatcher.
I liked her as Lois Lane. Terry Hatcher. I liked her as Lois Lane. I like her in almost nothing else she's ever done. But I liked her as Lois Lane.
Desperate Housewives. Loved it.
I don't know. She leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Anyway, but I would put Dean Cain where you put Brandon Routh.
Okay.
And I would probably put Brandon Routh next, honestly. And part of it is because you brought up his performance in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and that is part of why I would bump him above Dean Cain.
Okay, I might agree with you on this one.
He pulls off both sides so beautifully. And I really do think that's hard to do.
And dude had to wear a jazz belt when he was in the Superman costume.
Did he really? I did not know that.
If you Google Superman bulge, Brandon Routh shows up.
Okay.
Pause right here. Do yourself a favor.
I am not going to admit that I'm going to go do that when we're done, but I will probably go do that when we're done.
So I'm going to have to then put... I think I would put...
This is a hard one.
This is the hard one. I'm going to go Tom Welling.
Okay.
I had to think about that one. Part of my issue with Tom Welling, and I liked Smallville. I watched it all the way through. I enjoyed every moment of it, even the horrible.
And there were some rough seasons.
My problem was, again, I don't like origin stories, and this was 10 seasons of an origin story.
It was too damn long. It was too damn long.
And it almost became like each season we're going to explore a new power. And then how many colors of kryptonite can show up? And then.
How many barriers can we throw up between him and Lana? Oh my God. Did I ever get so sick and tired of the Lana Clark drama? Kill her off, do something. Honestly, the best part of Lana for me was when she and Lex were boning. That was the best. And I was like, I'm all here for that. Please do that.
When they thought she was dead, that was probably my favorite.
Yeah, just get rid of her. Honestly. Smallville does have my all-time favorite Lex Luthor. I'm going to from live action. There are some freaking-tastic animated ones, but live action,
I'm going to say he's my favorite. I believed him the whole time.
Yeah.
He was so good that when he was the villain in the second to last season or the last season, and they don't even show him, the memory of Michael Rosenbaum carries you.
Oh yeah, it does. He was incredible. He was sympathetic almost the entire, if not the entire time. There were times I rooted for him more than Clark, honestly.
But my issue with it was, one, it wasn't a Superman show. It had Superman elements. And then his biggest fault was his being a whiny bitch.
So the video that we watched brought this up very well, is because what they had to do, because they ran out of story after 4 or 5 seasons, and it they had to make him indecisive. They had to keep Clark unable to make a freaking decision and stick with it in order to keep the show going. And even when they eventually moved him to Metropolis, they still did the same thing to keep him and Lois apart, and it just got tiring.
She went to Paris.
That was Lana. That was the weirdest season. Do you remember that season?
Yeah.
She goes to Paris. She gets a bizarre tattoo. She's connected with this like centuries-old witch who just happens to be Jane Seymour. And I was like, what the hell happened here?
And she
like,
knows kung fu.
Yeah, who smoked what peyote, and can I get some? Because...
So, and I think that's why he's going to get bumped down the list for me, because he's an incomplete portrayal.
I would agree with that. Their decision to never have the suit, the costume, I think really bit them in the ass the longer the show went on, honestly.
And I remember he did an interview really early on. He said, when Clark Kent learns how to fly, the show is over.
Mm-hmm.
And there were moments where, he leapt tall buildings all the time. But there was a moment when he starts hovering off the ground and you're like, no, we still have 6 more episodes. And in the last episode, he flew. And that was the last episode.
Huh. Because we see him, one of my favorites is him. He has an erotic dream and he wakes up floating. And I was like, oh, really?
And when
erotic for the CW, but still.
And when he is Black Kryptonite Superman or whatever, Pink Kryptonite Superman or whatever have you, he can fly, just not as Clark Kent.
Yeah. Which I call bullshit on. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
And again...
But yeah, he had the charm. You could see, and I hate to keep referring back to Christopher Reeve, but he's kind of the gold standard, really.
Yeah.
Tom Welling had kernels of that charm in him as Clark Kent, which he would need to have, honestly.
And I think as he got older, he lost that charm.
Yeah.
It almost felt like he was getting beaten down.
Well, he's probably getting tired of playing the same character for 10 fucking seasons.
He's the one who became the producer and kept it going.
Did he really? I did not know that.
Executive producer for like the last 4 seasons.
That's crazy.
And he started directing them like...
He started directing. Allison Mack directed. Kristen Prue directed. A lot of them actually did start directing, which was really nice. And then
Tom Welling had exactly 1 director credit after that, and the movie tanked. So, just saying.
Whoops. All right, so I think, and I agree with you. Tom Welling is my number 2 as well, for all the reasons we've just talked about. I think we probably...
That would make him number 3.
No, because we have... Wait. We're off count.
So far we have... The last 2 would be George Reeves and Christopher Reeve.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Christopher Reeves as my number 2.
This is where we diverge, my friend.
And my reason for this, is not to take him away from a number 1.
Mm-hmm.
He did Clark Kent in the most believable manner that I think has ever been portrayed.
Yes.
And he is the only person that I feel Lois Lane would not have recognized the 2 of them.
Agreed. Completely.
And it wasn't, again, it's the little loop of hair and the glasses. But his mannerisms as an actor changed so drastically.
His posture.
He made Clark Kent real.
Yeah. Have you seen the scene? It's one of my favorites. I memorized the first 2 Superman films. But he's in Lois's entryway, and he's there to pick her up for a date, and he's like doing that, and you see her go get her jacket, and then all of a sudden you see, and you don't recognize that he's slouching until all of a sudden Christopher Reeve straightens his shoulders and takes his glasses off, and you're like, holy crap. It's the little things that you're right. He's a completely different character. He plays two characters in that movie.
And I think he gave Clark a purpose that was independent of Superman.
Agreed.
And I think Superman, I felt in that was just as vulnerable as Clark Kent. And the fact that he was still trying to find his place amongst this bigger picture. And Clark Kent was seeing the ramifications of it on the street level. I just think his portrayal is... The problem with Batman is too many people try to play Bruce Wayne as Batman.
Agreed. That's why Michael Keaton's the best, because he has two distinct personalities. Yeah.
And that's how come I actually have two different favorite Batmans, because I think they're all a little too close. But I think he did such an amazing job at making two characters. He should have gotten credit in the film twice. And that brings me to my number one.
Okay.
And it is only because George Reeves, I think, is the epitome of Superman.
Explain.
When you think of the ethos of the character, you can't separate Superman from George Reeves.
Okay.
And the fact that he altered Superman on such a fundamental level, and I mean, it was there, but he complemented and put it to the forefront.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
And everyone else has tried to keep, other than Henry Cavill, has tried to make a Superman who is civic, righteous, ethically grounded, morally always points north. I think everyone looks back at that Superman.
That makes sense. I have to admit that I'm reversing them for me, and it's purely emotional. I will completely and utterly admit that it's emotional for me, because Christopher Reeve Superman was everything. It was the first superhero thing I ever remember seeing.
And the thing I do love about him is he was Superman on and offset. And the same goes for George Reeve.
Yes, exactly.
And so when Christopher Reeves was towards the end of his life and things were going horribly wrong, you never got a sense that things were bad. And he maintained this very, he was the character, or the character was him, or they're so interlocked at this point. And I remember when he died, the article read, "Superman rest in peace."
Yeah. I still, to this day, and I am going to choke up, because there are certain performers that their art is meaningful on a level that transcends your ability to talk about it. It's like a soul level. And Carrie Fisher was that for me. Tom Hanks is that for me. And honestly, Christopher Reeve was that for me as Superman. I can't quite pinpoint exactly what it ever was for me, but it was like watching him on screen, and it was like everything is going to be okay, because he was there and he was good. He was good without being cheesy. He was, and I loved how the video we saw talked about how in a post Watergate world, presenting a character like Superman was not easy. And yet you have Christopher Reeve with this genuine care and compassion and showing, hey, kindness is still a good thing. Kindness is still important. Compassion is still important. Those are powerful themes. And I think it was a main part of it was because in real life, he was such a genuinely good person that like George Reeves, he believed in those qualities and he embodied them. He tried to live them, not because it was expected, because it's a role, but just because of who he was.
And Carrie Fisher is the perfect counter to this. For a generation of young girls, they got to see the princess that they were always told to be was this warrior.
She became the general.
And for all these young misunderstood boys or these nerdy kids, they got to see the potential to be Superman. And I think that is something that's definitely lacking. Like, I love Wonder Woman for many, many reasons, but it didn't have that piece to it.
Yeah, agreed, totally. Which is why Brandon Routh is also, like, I have a really hard time ranking him because he so embodies what, like, that dorky. It's just like Christopher Reeve. It's like the dork that's compassionate and nice to his silver-haired mom, you know, and like holds the door open, and he can be the hero. That guy is the hero.
And I think this was the success of Black Panther that people didn't think. There's a generation of kids that want to see themselves on screen that are underrepresented. And back in the 80s, those dorky little kids. Now those dorky little kids run the world.
Exactly.
So there's a very different thing that's coming out of that. And I do think that is something that's missing. So I might actually have to say George Reeve. It's going to be Reeve and Reeve is my number one.
Yeah.
Reeve and Reeves. I
think, and I know we're running a little short on time, but I do want to say, I think you're right about George Reeves. He set the bar. He set the bar in terms of this is who Superman is. And Christopher Reeve came the closest, I feel like, out of everybody to really carrying that on. And I think everybody else after has been trying to chase that and to find their way to do it. And it's not an easy task at all.
And I feel like there are certain iconic characters like Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah.
Everyone is either trying to push away from it and make it their own, or fall into it and carry on a legacy. But everyone's reacting to this one.
Yeah.
And I think everyone after that is going to get ranked somewhere underneath because they're responding to it. And I think that's the same thing with these two, is that everyone has to respond to them.
Yeah.
Especially with, Christopher Reeve with Clark, and then with George Reeves as, this mythical being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
we agree pretty much. I mean, I'm surprised at how much we agree on this, honestly.
I expected Dean Cain to be higher on my list originally.
Yeah.
Again, I can't tell you an iconic moment from the show, but I can tell you iconic moments from the Superman movie all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have so many favorites. Honestly, we should do a bonus episode where we rank Lois Lane's, because that would be interesting. And I know who my number one is, and it's just probably like silly, but
I would have to think about that.
Yeah. Mine, and it could be because it's connected to Christopher Reeve, but Margot Kidder has always been my number one, even though in real life she was a train wreck. But as Lois Lane, I was like, she is smart. She holds her own. She's brave. She doesn't take shit from anybody. I want to be her when I grow up. You know, it was just, I wanted to be her and Princess Leia. Like, you know, give me a pen and a blaster and I am totally happy.
That needs to be the t-shirt right there.
It does need to be the t-shirt.
So I think the obvious question of the week needs to be, who is your Superman?
Yes, I think that has to be it. And tell us why.
Who is your Clark Kent?
Ooh. I like that one.
It might not be the same person.
It might not. That's a good point.
But yeah, leave us a comment. I'm gonna be curious because, oh God, we're gonna be eaten alive by geeks.
That's okay. It's happened before. It'll happen again.
We didn't have anything bad to say about Christopher Reeve though, so I think we're safe.
I think we're good. Yeah, we're totally good.
And if you want something fun to watch, go watch The Turkish Superman. It's available on YouTube.
Is it really? Oh my God.
Episodes.
Holy crap. I might have to check that out.
It is as bad as you think it should be.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
All right. So that's the episode for this week. Thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody. To stay up to date with the Geekorama podcast, you can watch our videos on YouTube or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a review or hit the thumbs up button. New episodes are released on Thursdays for podcast listeners and YouTube fans.